Hello everybody and welcome to the channel. So today we are going to do a Licentia Wabbajack breakdown. I've been playing Skyrim for about a year now, and let me tell you what, I knew I would like Skyrim. I played Oblivion and Morrowind, and I knew as soon as Skyrim came out that if I did that I was going to go down a rabbit hole. I waited and I waited and I managed to avoid it for years. And then about a year ago, I tried it, and now I have been sunk into that nasty rabbit hole. I wouldn't necessarily say nasty because, of course, it's Skyrim, it's a game, and I have a choice and everything, but I love Skyrim and everything that it brings. I figured out with Xbox for modding, I got into doing that and actually setting up things properly so they would all work. Going and learning how to set things up, following other people, watching YouTube videos, following experts, getting new mods, bringing them in, how to do it, but always running out of space. And then about 9-10 months ago, got a PC, a gaming PC. It changed how I played Skyrim a lot, and it opened the doors to be able to do a whole lot more modding and having fun with Skyrim. And with that said, I'm going to go over and show you guys a few things today. You get to see everything that I do. I'm not hiding anything. I'm not showing anything that you can't see, anything like that. So basically, I get to play Skyrim and I do modding. I used to do my own mods for a long time, but they always have conflicts, problems, because, of course, I'm not an expert. I'm kind of okay at it, and everybody's asking me and my family how to set this up, and then I try it and then it doesn't work, and then it takes a long time and I get frustrated, and so on and so forth. So I did find a playlist that worked really good. It was called Path of the Dovahkiin. This is through Wabbajack. If you go to Wabbajack and you open it up and you go through the gallery and you pick which ones you want, Path of the Dovahkiin is one of those, and it worked pretty doggone good. I had just the regular SE version, and it was fun. It didn't last me very long, though. I tried several others, and let me tell you what, there's always things going underneath maintenance, as you can see. And the one that I have actually landed on and stuck with and played the most has been one called Licentia. I've tried a few others. I followed the guide on how to set them up. Did not have much luck. This one here, Path of the Dovahkiin, if you want to do lots of different runs and build different characters and see how they turn out with having lots of cool magic items, this is the one for you. Me, I got to where I could just set all the health things and kill everybody instantly, and then it was like, okay, I know too much, and then I'm trying to cut back on myself, and I don't like playing like that. Licentia is, I would say, definitely not lore friendly. I mean, it's somewhat, but it does break the lore for people that are superly into that. It's not terrible into it, so it's enough that I still enjoy the game heavily. So the only way to get to Licentia is to show NSFW. Now, obviously, this is a YouTube video, so I can't show a whole lot of that. However, I'm going to show you how to do it the best way possible without showing anything and all that stuff. There's supposedly a guide out there that tells you how to deactivate all that. Yeah, I can't find it. So, if you're like me, you probably can't find it either. Now, Licentia Black, I have not tried. I've not tried Happy Fun Times, whatever that is. When I first started, they were saying to try Nephirim, Tsukiro, or Licentia. Well, Tsukiro is, which I'm probably butchering the name on that, is very heavily into the adult mods. You lose a fight and you're not good and you have to learn this system, it automatically throws you into it. Plus, it is heavy on system. So I don't have that great of a system, but oh my gosh. I have a i3, which isn't fantastic. 3.3 gigahertz, 16 gigs RAM, 64 operating system. I've got a 100 gig hard drive plus a 5 terabyte hard drive external. So I can run a decent amount of stuff on there, but obviously Sekiro was way too heavy. Licentia has a couple little moments, but not very much. So that one I could do. I've tried installing Masterstroke and Nephilim and all those, and I can't get those to work. Licentia does require, went underneath maintenance recently, for you to have the AE upgrade purchased. And so that way you could have all the extra things, which I did, installed it, and it worked great. Since then, trying to install any others, I've had issues. But with that, I haven't really wanted to experiment with more because Licentia kind of has everything that I want. One thing is Vorkinator and Vorkinator Black, where you can basically do any kind of setup. I'm one of those people that likes to try everything, so I create characters all the time, like every single day, and I don't ever really stick to one. So I'm going to kind of go through this walkthrough. So what you do is you're going to click on it, click on this little download button here. It takes it a long while to come up to here. Obviously, the download size is 136 gigs. Installation size is 250. So it takes a lot. Now, follow the rules for Wabbajack. I believe it says to, make sure that there's a clean install of Skyrim. Update it once. You start it in, right back out. Make sure that your rules for it are so that way it does not update. So you come in here to the little settings button in your Steam underneath Skyrim, and you go to the properties. You make sure only update this game when I launch it. This keeps it from screwing up your mod list and whatever is running. If that is not there and you have it when you update it every time you launch, you are going to have some serious issues playing the game and it's not going to work. So that is an FYI. Licentia, when it's working and up, you download it, put it together, open it up. It takes a while. I have, 250 megabytes a second or something like that for internet. It took the better part of a day to download, just to let you know. Once it downloads, so set it up, let it go, don't do much else because your internet's going to be, this takes up a heavy load. If you're having issues, there is a setting in here in Wabbajack before you download that will allow you to only download, it normally does 8 downloads at a time, where you can see them each. I would recommend bumping that down to 2 or 4, so you're only doing a couple, and it'll still go a lot quicker and save it from having any issues. But once you download Licentia and you get it up and running, you're set to go. If you have issues, follow the instructions on here to the T. Do everything it says for it to work properly. If it doesn't work, I wish I could help you, but the best thing is probably going to be finding YouTube videos and seeing directly what your error is, or looking on Reddit for what other people have dealt with. However, once you have it installed and it's up and running and working, I will go through the nice way of how this is to start running. So once you have it, you're going to have a whole thing here for your install. Everything's going to be in here. All this stuff. Main thing you need to worry about is right here where it says Mod Organizer. You double click that, and it's going to show this Licentia here, and then it's going to pop this up. Here, even though it says do not add anything to it, I would recommend not adding anything to it if you are somewhat new at modding. I've added a couple things. One is this Missives SE perk points, which means anything that you get from Missives, you actually get perk points for. This is incredibly useful, especially in Licentia, because there's a lot of skill points, but I like getting more. I like having to be able to add a couple extra things onto Pickpocket if I'm not using that as a main. And I do different runs and builds, so being able to carry more, I don't use Pickpocket a lot, but whenever you go to do the Thieves quest, I don't want to spam save to try to get through that spot without getting caught. So That is always super helpful, and you do a couple of perks. Doesn't break the game system lore, and you're still earning your perk points. So you can put that in, kind of find where it belongs. So in here, there's one of them called... There's a lot in here, I'm telling you guys. There's one in here that says perks somewhere. So you can also come down to this filter and say perks. So perks and leveling. When you download it, you can put it in there. You can also put it in quests. Let's see here when I put missives. So I put it underneath quests minor, missives SSE perk points, and I put it at the very bottom of it because this is where all the missives were. I installed it, put it right into there, turned it on. It works good. I have no issues with it whatsoever. So that one is safe to add if you want. Make sure you get the SE for it. Now, to start it, you're going to click the run button. It's going to go through this little setup. And here's the deal, is it will take a little while to run. I do recommend you installing this on your C drive, unless you have a super fast hookup and the 3.0 USB connected to your hard drive. Even then, it can take even longer and you will have more slowdowns and hiccups. Versus if you install it on your main drive, it will be much faster and run a lot smoother, I have found. This is the longest part of Licentia where you have to have the most patience, is once you click run, it's going to take it a while to go. Alright, so once everything loads up, you will see the main screen of Skyrim. Now I'm having some problems with my Bandicam, which is recording. I would always suggest Bandicam, is wonderful and Bandicut works great. However, you got to make sure it's actually recording. Because I did about 20 more minutes of information and it didn't record it. So keep that in mind. So now we're going to click new. Okay, inside the abandoned prison, Genesis will be disabled. Once you exit the jail location and start the game proper, use MCM mod to enable. Even though it says it's disabled, it's probably not. You may get that notice, you may not. So, you can choose to be male or female. There are a lot more things to change for the females than the males. So I generally go females just because it's also nicer to look at them than the males for me personally. One note, Khajiit and Argonian do not have that many choices and that many styles to choose from. Now if you go to presets instead of the sliders right off the bat, I like to do that and come down here to F9 or load preset. Since you're a Nord, which is what I am to start off with here, you have Altmer, which is the AL, Bosmer, which is BO, Dunmer, Imperial, Nord. So now we're down here into the Nords. You can pick any of these, but don't pick any of the other ones because they will not look correct on your character. Also make sure it doesn't say male, or you know, come down here and it's one of these other ones. Because some of them don't say male, but they are male over here, so you may want to double check and make sure that it says female over here and female and female. So once you do that, you can pick the one that you want. So let's just grab this Kinara Jade. I'm pretty sure this is what I'm thinking of. Nope, but still looks pretty good. See, so it changes a lot of the features, the hair, everything, skin tones. Pretty cool. Does all that stuff right there, wham bam boom. You can change anything that you want to right there in that thing. I prefer going back to sliders, and then let's change stuff in here. So if you for some reason click on a Nord and then you pick an Orc lookout and it looks really weird, best thing to do is come back here, change your sex to the other one, and then go back in and click what you want. If you do Breton, be careful because Breton will shrink your size from here down to like here, and then it's gonna screw it up for every other character that you do. You may have to back out completely from Licentia and restart it back in, or at least to the main menu. So once I pick these, the only things I generally choose to change, which you can change any of these that you want, of course, is the eyes. You change eye color, because I like the dark blue, or at least, you know, sea blue, so that way you can see them. You can change your brow, mouth, hair, everything else. So over here you have tons of hair choices. Anything under 1,000 is going to be regular KS hairdos, which there is a lot to choose from. There's all the standard ones just above 1,000, so you have your, you know, your normal base game ones with the terrible hairstyles, even though they have made them look better in more detail than just regular terrible Skyrim. You can come down here to the very far end, and obviously there's a couple of them that are bald that may work with certain races, but these ones down here at the end are physics hairdos, which means they act like real hair and they move, so this braid will move around. I kind of like the white hair, so I'm just going to stick with that. It can make creating your character a breeze instead of having to change everything right off the bat. You can change all the dimensions of your character, your arm size, buttocks, legs, up here, face, everything. Everything is customizable. One thing I do want to point out is here in body paint. Some of these have really cool body paints, but I don't know how to get them on a regular one. So this is typically your skin color, not necessarily, but you can hit T or choose texture, and it will bring you to here. In this texture list, there are tons to choose from. Let's just try seeing if there's anything in here. Let's go ahead and click that one. Now, you can't really see it. You can barely see it there, but once you click it, you can change the color. So we're going to increase the color tone, darken it up a bit, and you can pop that color on there, and then you have some cool body tones. It's going to be all over your body, even under the clothes. So you can hit T and glow, and you can change how powerful the glow is and how deep the color saturation is on that glow. So if you want it to glow super bright and powerful purple, you can, or you can leave it just the way it is. So totally up to you. You can also do that for hands, foot. The feet are kind of hard because you obviously can't see them very well, even zoomed out. So that's kind of hard to do, but the face paints, you can also choose different face paints as well. So there's all sorts of cool things in here that you can pick. Let's see here. You can also do this where you pick this one, say you pop the color on there and you're like, oh, I do not like that at all. You can accept the color and then go back to choose texture, and it should allow you to change it. I've had it come a few times where you can't change the colors. So, you know, say you want to do that. Cool? Cool. Body scales, these really don't change a whole lot as far as I can tell. You can change this stuff and play with it if you want, but I don't notice that it changes anything. This genitals is only for men. Don't do anything, it doesn't affect the female. Okay? Alright. We're going to say done. We're going to call her YouTube. And hit accept. So remember how it said Genesis is disabled here? Not all the time. It will create a ghost up there that will randomly come down, open this door, attack you, and you better be jumping in that bed to get out. So I usually move over here a little bit, just so that way I'm blocked and I'm safe. Now the main thing you need to do is not look down, because once it starts everything, you will be naked. Fertility mode pops up. I usually click yes. That's totally up to you. We'll go over all that here in a minute. But you will be naked to start off with. I have not figured out how to run body slide. Get that running here to where it takes it off. Licentia has a description somewhere on how to take all that off. I have not been able to find it, because I wanted to do this for YouTube for a while and turn all that off, and I haven't been able to find it, so I'm giving you the best that I can. So if you play Licentia, you may see some of this stuff. Generally, the only time you are going to see any naked bodies is when you grab all the armor off of an NPC that you have killed. That is really the only time you will see it, except for maybe the rare off chance, and I'm going to show you how to pretty much stop all of that from ever happening. So we wait for everything to enter. Once Triumvirate enters, it's not that long from being completed. Don't move or do a whole lot, because once you do, you can screw certain things up in the scripts while it's running. I once had the compass up top turn into a big U shape, and the only way I could fix it was to back out and then load back in. Basically let the scripts rerun again. Once immersive armors are finished, you're pretty much set to go. Okay, so now that you're all set, first thing I do is I come in here, make sure that these are equipped back on, and it has a great first camera. It is like you are actually that person. It is wonderful, and it kicks butt. Now you see the hair, how it moves pretty normal? It will act just like a normal real braid for the most part. It has all the physics on its own, so some of those are pretty cool. Now, right off the bat, Prisoner's Journal just tells you why you're here, basic stuff. Vanity Mirror. This thing is golden. Pick that sucker up. Vanity Mirror allows you to change anything about your character, reset it back to base if for whatever reason you get a weird war paint on your face or your hair color changes. I've only noticed it right when you enter Riverwood after the main game. For some reason you have the almost the football style war paint on. If you click this open, it just jets it off and off there. So I recommend you carry this with you. This will allow you to change anything about your character that you wanted to edit in the race menu. The only two things you cannot change is your race. So if you pick Nord, you're staying Nord. I have found that if you change that, it can screw the game up. Also, you cannot change your sex. If you are a female, you will stay female. If you go into show race menu and edit those, you can have problems in the main playthrough where when you go fight Mjolnir at the beginning with the first dragon for the main quest, it will lock up and you cannot complete it. So just keep that in mind. So this Vanity Mirror is awesome. It does not create a new save. It just allows you to change what your character looks like. Now, first thing I do is I take this personal key. Boom. What does that do? Oh, it allows you to come over here to the cabinet and unlock it. In this cabinet, there's a few things to note. Hidden key. If you need lockpicks, take that hidden key, turn right around, go behind this barrel. There's a little lockbox there. Click it open. You get 12 lockpicks to start the game. Very useful depending on wherever you're starting. In this supplies barrel, there is potions of minor magicka, stamina, and healing. Usually take all three of those to start with. And Son of Horker Ale and red apples. The only downside that I have found to playing Licentia is the survival aspects of this game. It uses base Creation Club survival game mechanics. There's no I needs or anything else. There's no frostfall, no camping. So you have base game survival from Creation Club. This isn't necessarily a bad thing. It doesn't add a whole lot to the game that needs of survival, but it still can make it a challenge where you want to add it into the game if you want. There's also a survival mod that they added to kind of help. Doesn't do a lot, but it does help. Now in this chest down here, there's rusty equipment and tattered clothes. So the tattered robes in that are 25% magicka regen. Not great. Something good to start off with where you're not just wearing prisoner robes. You can get any of the 8 Divines amulets plus Talos where you can equip them. So if you want the Amulet of Zenithar to get better prices right off the bat, take that sucker. Rusted is iron. Worn is hide. And every one of these has less stats than its iron counterpart. So an iron greatsword is going to be better than this rusty greatsword. You can get some miner's clothing, that kind of stuff, but there's also 2 torches down here. So if you're picking a place where you're in a cave to start off with, or you're going to go spelunking right away, or in dark areas, you can at least have a couple of normal torches to start the game with. Okay. Up here is a different way to start the game, other than the Statue of Mara. The Statue of Mara
Approach, my child,
has
and
the original
choose
9
where your
options
new life
plus
shall begin.
a ton of others. You can be a witch, guild master in the Explorer Society, and there is always one that's going to be to the racial pick that you do. Since it's a Nord, it's Eric the Slayers. If you're Imperial, you can do the Penitus Oculus. All that kind of good stuff. If you're a Red Guard, you start off as, I think, a Khajiit Caravan Guide or something, protection. Maybe that's the Khajiit, I'm not sure. But each one of these books is the equivalent of picking something from Mara. These are all based on areas. These are all based on areas. So if it says Raven Rock, you start in Raven Rock, and all these ones over here that say Horror of whatever city, you have to earn 500 gold. You don't necessarily have to do it by, obviously, what it's stating. You can get the first 500 gold by whatever you want, and that's your first beginning quest. These over here are kind of cool. Like a drunken boast. How much mead did I have last night? All I can remember is that I boasted to Camilla Valerius that I could get her family's golden claw back, bare butt naked. So you take that book, boom, you've just pretty much selected what you want for Mara. You don't even have to touch the Statue of Mara. You just have that book, and now you start with that quest. Now, this scroll box over here. It has 2 scrolls of Turn Undead, so if you're somewhere right off the bat where you need to get undead away from you, great thing to start with. May not work depending on the level of the enemies. What are these memory scrolls, you're wondering? Say you want to play... I was looking at that mini-map and saw something coming down towards me. If you're not careful and they see you, they will open the door and start fighting you. FYI. So that's something to keep in mind. Normally I don't spend this much time here. I've had them come in and then they fight you a couple times. So these scrolls, if you want to say you want to start off as a destruction mage and you're an Imperial, you don't have to start as a Dunmer with sparks. You can click this destruction memories, come over here to your scrolls and equip it like you would a scroll. Now what it does is it allows you to learn the base spell in that perk tree. So say you want flames, you pick fire. If you want freezing cold, if you pick freezing cold, you get frostbite. If you pick electric shocks, you get sparks. Each one of them is pretty simple. Alteration gives you stone flesh. Conjuration gives you the base. Summon wolf, which the wolf in this one levels up with you. So it becomes a real wolf. When you hit level 50 and 75, I think it becomes a dire wolf. You know, it's pretty good. Illusion, you can get frenzy. Frenzy, courage, and I think the one that illuminates to your next pass, so clairvoyance. Restoration is healing, and another base one. So those are helpful. You have the statue of the Shrine of Dibella. This game has Winter Sun Faiths, which I think is the best faith system overall. You can always click this one right off the bat to get the Shrine of Dibella if you are not a Nord. Or an Imperial, I believe, because other than that, you can't get it. So it will first ask you the religion question and the survival one, depending on after you start the game and the first time you go outdoors. So the firmament here that's hidden sideways here is you read it. Now that little thing that popped up that says 1, that's my level. In this game, you do not level up by using your skills like in base Skyrim. There is a mod called Experience, and that has been added in here and integrated in very well with all the additional add-ons. So you level up by gaining XP. You gain XP by reading books, which is how it popped up here. You also gain XP by killing enemies. Certain enemies give more XP. Certain enemies give less. It's always pretty much worth it to kill every single rabbit because you will get a few XP every single time you kill a small animal. I never kill foxes because I like foxes. And killing them doesn't make me feel better, so I just leave them alone. And you gain XP by finding new places and then by clearing those places. So if you find a cave, you get like 10 XP. If you clear it, you gain a lot more. Now, back to the book. The firmament here, once you click it and read it and you back out, it's going to ask if you want to choose your sign. You can start off with any of the stones right off the bat. So the warrior adds 50 health and 30% better blocking ability. The mage does 50 magicka and your spells cost less magicka. The thief does 50 stamina, obviously, and then it also gives you more movement speed and half damage from falling. The serpent, I believe, makes your poisons twice as deadly, or maybe potions overall. The lady does regeneration for all 3 stats, I believe. The steed is pretty good to start with. It gives you 100 extra carrying capacity, and you move, I believe, 10% faster in and out of combat. The lord gives you more health and more health regeneration, I believe. The apprentice is still pretty bad, which gives you like 100 magicka, I believe, in a weakness to magic. Atronach gives you a lot more magicka, but you can only regain it from damage that's done to you by spells. The ritual is not nearly as overpowered as it used to be in vanilla. It gives you 2 summons, but your summon limit, your summon time is cut in half, I believe. So you get twice the summons, but they don't last as long. The lover, this one's still pretty similar. You gain more XP and you get lover's comfort. The shadow, I believe you gain 25% more effective sneak, and you do more stealth damage. The tower is also another pretty darn helpful one. This is all from Winter Sun Faiths, by the way, and the tower does 100 more armor rating no matter what equipment you have on, and it gives reflect damage, 100% reflect damage. So if somebody does 50 damage to you, you're still going to take 50 damage, but they're also going to take 50 damage. So that is pretty doggone good. Once you're under the sign of the tower, you resist physical damage and reflect damage back at their foes. You may only have one sign at a time, except. So that's a pretty good way to start the game. So, now that we have all of this set up, we're going to go through the mod configuration. So, in here, there's only a few things I tweak each time, but I'll go over each one of these for the most part so that way you have an idea. Cat's Life, Matter Time, AGO, I don't touch. AGO, when I did that one, it messed up the compass and all that really bad and kind of kept it that way, so I don't mess with that one. Apocalypse spells, you can come in here and tweak stuff if you want. I don't really do anything with this. I leave them all alone. They work really good just the way they are. Map markers, I don't really see a need to change. Better third person, CBBE, this is the physics and the body type. CGO, you can come in here, combat gameplay overhaul, and change things. I pretty much like everything that the way that they have it set up. You can change anything you want. Lichdom, this one doesn't happen until late in the game because your enchanting has to be 50 and your conjuration has to be 75 before any of this even is available. So you can change the requirements, so you can do lich stuff right off the bat if you want, but that's up to you. The Ascension, also, this is just a little bit more. There's not a whole lot to change in here. This just allows, you know, dynamic outfit changing, and if you want to be a vampire or a werewolf to become a lich, to just do the lich system. Clockwork is one of the main quest mods that's added in. So when I was talking about survival earlier, this Connor's Survival Guide. This one is the only thing that allows you to change anything to do with survival. Enables drug toxicity, which means if you're drinking a whole lot of alcohol, you can get problems and side effects and, how do you say, like, debuffs. from it. Again, you can also have increased morale, which means when you're asleep, when you're not tired, you're not hungry, and you're not cold, you get buffs, small buffs to your stats. Malaise is when you get debuffs when you are really in dire conditions. Say you haven't eaten for a very long time, it's really going to start messing you up. You can change vampire stuff, werewolf bonuses if you don't need to eat the same way, all that kind of stuff. Shrine gold costs. Gold costs for shrine. So if you need to use a shrine to clear some stuff off, it's going to cost you. Survival eye mods basically just disables the image thing that says what they are. You can change if you die from cold or not, and you can enable health regen or take that off. If you want to play a harder gameplay where you cannot regen health while survival mode is on, you go for it. I like leaving that on the way it is if I do play survival, because I do not want to have to rely on alchemy or restoration, because I usually play without those unless I do a build that specifically involves those. Otherwise, I don't like having to rely on having either one of those two things. So, Deadly Dragons and Diverse Dragons collection. Deadly Dragons, you can make they start off as vanilla. You can make them more buffed to make your game harder. That's totally up to you. You can change that. And in here as well, there's miscellaneous. So Dragon Souls, you can change for perk points later on. You can convert them. Dragon Bone weights, these are super helpful. This is also another thing to help you out if you don't want to do the missives to perk points. It does take a lot longer to get there though. Dindalog, you don't really need to change anything in here because this is just basically where you are placed in the game. Don't mess with that. Enhanced blood, you can change blood things and how often you see blood. You can turn that off completely. Extended encounters, I pretty much just leave alone because it adds tarantulas, raids, problems, fights, more encounter chances. If you fast travel, things find you. When you sleep in the wilderness, if things find you and you're automatically in a fight. So those are pretty good right off the bat. Fertility mode. This one, there's a few things you may want to change. Show verbose messages is one of those I always take off because it's just basically telling you what everybody else in the game is doing, which I don't really care. You can open it up and track it anytime you want if you want. Now, this show widget cycle is this thing that's up here that says your period. And if you're able to get pregnant easily or not, you can keep that on if you want, but I do recommend changing this widget from 900 down to 50. What that does is, because right now the mini map up here is covering the widget, so you can't see it fully. So all that does is it moves it from the right side clear over here to the left side where there's not a lot going on, and I will back out to show you. So normally it's up in the top right behind the map. Now you can actually see it. And not fertile means if you're doing any of the hanky-panky, you're not going to get pregnant most likely. So with that said, you can also go into fertility mode, go to the settings page 2, and you can unclick that and then it completely goes away. You can also go into settings page 1 and disable this completely if you don't want to have it in your game. You take it off. You can't take it off, I know it does. Just because I changed it. So you can take it completely off. I usually like to leave it on. I've never had a character get pregnant yet. You can also change the rates and stuff at which you get pregnant. Sometimes if it locks up, you just need to back out of the menu because you're clicking into so many different things and come back in. Follower framework. Oh my wow. This is fantastic. You can set characters to essential in here. You can change what they do, how they fight, how they play. You can set if they're going to pick up items off of enemies, if they're going to pick up potions, miscellaneous, armor, weapons, all three. You can set if you are going to have them go to town and sell things for you, what they're going to do. You can set out their base outfits. You can see their stats, perks, everything about them. This is super helpful if you want to make a follower playthrough or have somebody with you. Or say, Inigo, you're sick and tired of him running up and fighting him, you want to be more of an archer. You can set him to be an archer. As far as the next one, this one's going to take a minute to go over, so hold on just a sec. We're going to pause. Alright, now that we are down from our little break here, I'm going to go into Forgotten Magic. This system, you can build an entire build around Forgotten Magic, around several things in Forgotten Magic, and I know this is about Licentia, but I'm going to go into this one in a little bit of detail. Won't take too long. So, Forgotten Magic, you learn spells from books that are dropped in-game by characters. Now, say somebody drops a book of Ice Lance. Once you read that and you want to learn it, it is a destruction spell. Ancient Lich is a conjuration, so it depends on what kind of spell you have. Once you learn that spell, if you're going to use it, I would recommend turning the tracking on. This will tell you how many points out of 360 you are from leveling this skill up. Once you level the skill up to 360, you get 1 talent point. This talent point you can put on any of these below. Normal Forgotten Magic, you can pick 5. I like having all 10 to be able to be available. When you put 1 point on, it does cool things to make the spells better. So normally Ice Shard is like shooting an Ice Lance at somebody. If you choose Deadly Shards, Ice Lance explodes on impact, causing frost damage to nearest targets. So you can do that and do each one of these and put a point on it, and then it does that as you level it up. Nice thing about this is you can set how much experience you gain by doing it. You can change 25% or keep it at the normal 1%. That's fine. You can change how often spellbook drops chances are. If you want it to be, I believe, up to 25% or down to 0% books. Jewelry. There are specific rings that come with this that give you plus to health and magicka, and they also give you basically as you level up those skills, say one of them is the Ice Lance gives you that chance to burst, the jewelry will have that also on there, and it'll say, it'll say Ice Lance Frostbite. Ice Lance, so it'll say frostbite damage over time added. So you can put that on, and it gives you that additional thing. So that jewelry also has a chance to drop, and mostly I've never seen an amulet, but I have seen lots of rings. And then with Licentia, you can wear 2 rings. The 2 rings have to be specific from certain things. So you can have a main ring and say one of the new magic rings. So if you want a Licentia Forgotten Magic ring on, you can click that one. But say you also have one that has Magicka Regen. If you click them both, it'll unequip one, but then it'll make one a left-handed ring. So then you can put that one on the left hand. If you're switching them and it does not do that, you will not be able to equip both of them. I will show you this in a little bit. Armor duration spells. So I think most of the armor spells and bound weapon and things like this last for a pretty long time. I think 180 or 240 seconds, but you can increase the duration by 4 times if you want here. You can also uncap the Mystic Illusion effects, also just like uncapping all that kind of stuff. As you level them up, you can get there and do all that kind of fun stuff with these. Each one of these skills has so much to it. They did a fantastic job with this. It is not game breaking. There are not OP spells. It can become OP as you level them up, as any good mage would be. Now your magic affinity is going to be, I don't know how this goes up or increases. I'm assuming as you level up more in one specific skill, then you gain affinity points, which helps you out. Arcane is mystic, it's just the same as here. So Divine is Paladin, Warlock is Death, Pyromancer is Fire, Cryomancer Frost, Druid Nature, Electromancer Storm. So as you level those up, you gain affinity points to improve those and make your spells better. That is the gist of Forgotten Magic. It is an awesome mod, and I love having it on here. Genesis Unleashed. I love this and hate it at the same time. Mod is currently inactive. I am surprised. Max number of dungeon spawns, 40. This is generally enabled, and it will be enabled as soon as you leave here. Dungeon spawns, 40. So there's two things down here I want you to look at. Spawn if other hostiles are near. So say you run into a fight with a bandit chief. I've done this. And there's only one bandit chief. Allow spawning at player. If these are on, it will spawn more around you, and it'll generally spawn what's already there in the area. So I have gone into a fight with a single bandit chief on master mode, and next thing I know, it slowly builds to 8. Luckily, it wasn't 40, as it said here, but I had to fight 8 bandit chiefs, and they spawned one right after the other as I killed them, and they usually spawned right behind me. So it made a less than favorable fight. Now these change on saves, so if you save and do another one, or you re-enter the same area, it won't necessarily be the same thing. I like taking these down. Surface spawns when you go from 40, it'll automatically only let you go back up to 20. I like putting these down to say 5, because I don't want 40 people showing up on top of me, and I usually don't allow spawning at player. So usually if other hostiles are nearby, it's going to spawn them near them and not you, or within a certain distance. So I usually do that right off the bat. You can tweak other stuff in there, but those are the main things. Growl Werebeast is very straightforward. You know, you can change your stuff of werebears. You can become a werebear, experience gains, all that kind of stuff. Helgen Reborn, I don't mess with anything in there. Level requirement 20. Keep that like it is. Honed Metal is pretty awesome as well. This allows you to where you do not have to have smithing, enchanting, or alchemy. Sorry, I take that back. Only smithing and enchanting if you do not want to have to do it. You usually click have rare materials, because if they have it and you can buy it, and if you have the money, cool. Odds of them having it are pretty low anyways. NPC skill NPC minimum skill level 15. You can make their minimum skill 30. Their normal one is 15. I usually put this up to 20 because it's a normal base skill that I usually put to 20 if I get it right away. And modifier makes how good they are at something. So if you say temper my sword, they're going to put it to that temper level. If they create a new piece of armor for you, it's not just going to be iron armor, but it's going to be exquisite iron armor or superior iron armor depending on the skill modifier. And each NPC that's a blacksmith has different skill levels. You can increase those to be where they're all super powerful and you get the best thing every time. Or you can leave it like that or even lessen it. These crafting costs are going to take whatever it's going to cost, add 0.72 and add that on top of the price depending on what you do. So crafting and all that stuff, you can change all of that in here to where you, if you want, your recharge doesn't cost a thing. You can change your recharge time to where it doesn't take any time. Some of these are fantastic. Some are a bit of a pain because if you want to craft, say, you know, an ebony armor, that's great, but it's not going to come with any enchantments, and it could take them, with this rare materials and the crafting time, it could take them 10 to 20 days to do it, and by then you've already found something better. You will get a note that says it's ready, and then you have to go pick it up, but that's up to you. I sometimes put these to 0, as when I craft it, it's available immediately. So that's kind of the thing with this one. It's up to you. I Harvest. This one is also a really cool thing. It is a spell that is now in the game called Harvest. This is fan-freaking-tastic if you are an alchemist, because what it does is it's a spell that, if it's like a concentration spell, where when you cast it and hold it, it's going to create little critters that are like little glowing lights. They go around and they pick all the things for you, so that way you don't have to go around individually and start picking things manually all the time. If you're an alchemist or you need to brew poisons or something, This is indeed helpful because you don't find everything automatically. These things go out and they find it for you within a decent sized distance. And they last a little while. They don't fight. Sometimes they can draw enemies. Sometimes that, but not very often. You can change your spell cost when you're concentrating it to 0, especially if you're not a mage. And you can also have it if you're playing survival where they harvest food. So if there's any dead rabbits or anything nearby, I've not tested it on closed containers. So if you want to, try that, and then you can maybe harvest food, which may help you big time in survival. Do note that it doesn't say it will click everything in the area and pick it automatically. So you don't have a choice. So once you get it, then you have to figure out what you want to drop. Immersive armors. Armor options, shield options, it's got everything picked already. So you don't have to worry about clicking anything in there. In the extra options, if you are doing a specific playstyle where you are fighting as a light armored thief and all these cool looking armors are all heavy, you can change them to light armor. You can have everything be light armor in here, where all these cool armors that you get from immersive armors you can wear, and they're perfect for your playthrough. One really cool thing as well is robe types. Say you're playing a light armored character and you find these robes and they really look cool and they fit your playstyle and your character, but you don't want them to be unarmored. You can change everything in here to light armored. You can change it to even heavy armor if you want. So that way you're a heavy armored dragon hide robe. Cool, that works for your playstyle. One note here is shaman robes are the only one that will either be unarmored or light. You cannot make them heavy. You can change the color of certain things here in variants. Same thing over here. And then you can also take out what the NPCs use. So if you want them to have Draugr stuff or Forsworn or Hunter immersive armors, you can take those off if you want them to have just base game or regular or whatever other armor mods there are with Licentia. So that's pretty cool. Immersive creatures, I don't really mess with anything in here. Looks like we've been into too many menus, so we need to back out. Okay, so immersive creatures, you don't really need to change much in here. You can add more of all different types and things in here. Add different dwarven mechanical dragons, toggles if it's activated or not, additional spawns if you know you're gonna have more creatures show up, more, or you know, all sorts of different things. Random cells, more things showing up. I usually leave this alone and it is pretty well set to rock like it is. Immersive with encounters, you have events, new vanilla events, things like that, you know, all that kind of good stuff. So this is just additional things that happen throughout the thing with different characters. Totally cool. I like that. Imperious racials, this one you can't change a whole lot, but say you're playing a dark elf with the whispers where you have to kill a certain thing at that time. Sorry, it kicked me out because that thing finally loaded. Where a dark elf whisper, it says to kill this person and then you gain favor and they have more goodies on them. You can disable that. You can add how much favor it gains you towards getting your ancestor that will come help you fight in a thing or a spirit walk. This is all part of the racials thing. You can change those as you want. Approved follower dialogue, there's not really anything in here to change. You can just change Lydia's frequency on how much she talks. Lanterns of Skyrim, this is pretty much the lanterns that are around. When they turn on, when they turn off, it lights up the regular streets and walkways somewhat. I love that. This is all Legacy of the Dragonborn stuff. You can check your checklist, settings, curator's companion, all that stuff in there. I'm not going to go over that because it is very detailed. It's a cool thing in Solitude where you can collect all the Legacy of the Dragonborn stuff. Awesome little mod to keep having here. Lucian is a follower. You can find him in Falkreath. You can also tweak pretty much anything in here with him. You can, you know, change his stats, configuration, what kind of combat style, if he's got flames, frostbite, and healing, if he relaxes, that kind of thing. Maximum carnage. This thing rocks. When you kill things, pieces fall off. Humanoids, you can burn, freeze, and shock. With this in here, it makes it a lot more realistic and fun. I'm going to skip over this MCM recorder really quick. We will come back to it. Missives. Obviously, missives are the little boards in each town. You're going to go up, find them, do quests. I have the perk points on, so that way when I do it, I get an extra perk point. More HUD, I don't really mess with. Obus Bandits. You get a book as well that you can do this in-game. Number of extra bandits and enable. As you put to 5, it means that normal bandit camp where you can have 3 bandits, you can have additional bandits, so you can have up to 8. I am going to pause here for a moment. Alright, so with this stuff here, you want to go into, if you want to disable most of this, for O comfort, disable. For fade to black, you can leave that alone. O stim. This is the adult stuff. So you want to go to the configuration. You can say fully unclosed dress at start. Unclick that. So this way they leave the clothes on. It's pretty much all you can do there. And then if you go to undressing, if you unclick all this stuff, most of them should keep all their stuff on. So you shouldn't have really any issues. If you go to add-ons, I think there's one in here. Nope, nothing in there. Okay. That you don't really need to worry about. You can just say disable the mod. Okay, and then go to O trainers. This is definitely one that you want to take off if you don't want to randomly do something, because this one is probably the easiest to get involved into by accident. This one basically allows it where you can get, say, when you meet Fandal and he can teach you how to do archery, instead of just learning archery normally, you can learn it intimately, and that will start a scene. Only downside to this is it will do it on the very first prompt at the top. So if you're click through and you try to get through all the normal conversations quickly, you can click that one quite easily, and then you're in a scene that you cannot back out of. So if you like this, you can set the training cooldown and relationship rank where you can do it where it's only an acquaintance, or you can change that however you want. If you do not want that to happen and have that accidentally click, take these two off and you're golden. And that's pretty much how you take off most of that stuff. And then you come down here to the OSTEM solutions, you go to animations. You really can't take much off. You can take off this text flare, so that way you can take off all these generic events so nothing happens, all that good stuff. Now as far as quest journal limit bug fixer, you don't even have to go into that, just leave that alone. Quick light is pretty stinking awesome. You can change it where there's no special effect, lantern, or magic. And you can change it where the brightness is normal, slightly bright, or really wide. And the key and this long press activation, when you have this clicked, it'll be the use mode button, the use button. So I have that on my mouse and I use it to pick stuff up. Well, if I accidentally click it too long, I can turn a light on if I'm trying to sneak, which gives me away. So I like to take that off. If I really want the light, I have it set to this button, or you can change this to any button that you want. And when you turn it on, so that way you can see, boom, light. You can change it where if it's magic, it's like candlelight spell, and if it's lantern, it's like a lantern actually shows up on your hip. So this is a pretty nifty mod. So, quick loot, you can change the little things in here if you want, but everything in there works really good like it is. And it's super great for picking stuff. Realistic room rental. You can change it where the price is at each inn and all the different places in here. So you can change all of that stuff. It also makes it where I believe you can rent rooms for longer periods of time. Run for your lives. thankfully they put this in here because this helps with people that are not essential. So if a dragon shows up in a town to attack them, they don't stand there or just try to fight it if they have a dagger. They will run away and know, my life, I could die, I'm going to stay alive. Sacrosanct vampires you can change just like the Growl Werebeast. You can change your hunger and effects and stuff like that. It is really, really good for if you're playing a vampire playthrough. I don't do a lot of vampire playthroughs, so obviously it doesn't affect me very much, but you can change it when you want to do that or if that happens. For side quests of Skyrim, this one's neat. I wouldn't necessarily say that it's all immersive because it allows you to ask different NPCs of, is there anything I can help you with? Some of them may say, gather ingredients for me, and then you can bring them back to them for some XP and other stuff. This is really good for NPCs that stay in one place, like in cities and towns. Try not to do it with the prisoners or people that are walking around because it'll be heck to find them later, and if you can even find what they're asking for. So this one's a kind of a neat thing for where you can find stuff. You can stop it at any time in there as well. Simply no internal friendly fire. Oh my gosh, another fantastic mod that somebody made, and I am so grateful for it. I like to turn off player on ally damage, no spell damage, and follower on ally, which means if they're playing with Rayloff and you have a follower, they don't damage them as well. This is fantastically great because, say, you know, I've done this before where I'm a tank. I'm the fighter and I'm the one with the sword and the shield and I'm rushing in and fighting. And I say I have Lucian backing me up with some fire damage. Well, I really don't want to get burned alive because he is terrible at aiming. And with this on, it makes it where he will damage them, but his spells don't just, you know, destroy me as well in the back. So keeping those on is something super awesome. Sin 7, you really don't want to mess with anything in here, but Sin 7 is a special thing where there's 7 unique characters that come after you in the game that build your story, and I will let you find that one out as you go. They are extremely tough. Generally, the first one finds you after you do right before you get the quest for Jorgen Wingcaller. As soon as you get that quest for retrieve the horn of Jorgen Wingcaller, a two-handed orc usually shows up and tries to ruin your day. So don't just travel right back to Iverstead where the courier is going to show up, and then you're going to have the Dragonborn guys, cultists show up, and then you're going to have him on top of you, then you're going to have one big mess. And just a heads up, when those Sinister 7 people come after you, guards will not help you. Nobody will help you fight them. You are on your own fighting them. Nobody is going to help you. I had to learn that the hard way. Sky UI I don't change. Outfit system. This one's unique. I haven't used it yet. Basically allows you to set up outfits where you can enable it and change by location. You can have like a town outfit. You can have a mage outfit. You can have a warrior outfit, and you can equip them on the go. So that's kind of cool. Smooth cam. You can change things in here as you want. Third person, all this stuff. Crosshairs. The only thing I sometimes do is I like the Skyrim crosshair type. Totally up to you. I don't change a whole lot in there. Sophia follower. Sophia is an excellent follower in this game. She usually plays a spell sword, and she usually has a sword and lightning spells. So she is probably one of the best followers you can get. I will tell you, however, you can change her to any type of setup you want. Heavy one-handed, heavy two-handed, light ranger. So she does close and long range. She can do a heavy spell sword, destruction mage, conjurer. She has all sorts of different styles. One thing I will note about Sophia for you. If you want to play without a nude setting, I cannot help with that, and Sophia will always be naked when you first see her. So if you are going to stream and get Sophia, make sure that you turn your stream off when you go get her and go by the stables, because she will be laying there in the stables by Whiterun naked. FYI. So beyond that, Spell Siphon is something you get to start the game off with. You get a Spell Siphon book. If you haven't tried this, I do recommend it, especially if you're going to do a straight warrior playthrough or even a full-on mage playthrough. It gives you a backup to switch to where you can heal, block, ward, and cast 3 different types of magic. They're usually at the lowest level of spells that you can get, but they do not require mana. So when you're in a tight bind and you need to keep playing and fighting, it gives you something to do other than just run away, try to block, hide, just kite people for the entire time of trying to regen your stats. So Spell Siphon is something very good. If you do it, follow the tutorial and read it as it explains everything. I didn't. I had no idea how it worked. It was confusing as all heck. You can go through the entire game using Spell Siphon and it creates one heck of a thing. A cool playthrough. But again, it can be really hard to learn. It's super simple to learn, but if you don't take the time to read it, you can just be sitting there like, okay, I don't really understand what I'm doing with this. S-Purg, the only thing in here that I do is I enable salvage. This allows more materials to be salvaged when you're at the smelter or tanning rack. Other than that, all this leveling stuff and perk settings and skill settings is not going to do hardly anything because you have experience. This static skill leveling. You can change any of these you want. It is not going to affect it. It says in here when you change this to go into the values in the actual files and change them to match for it to work. I have done this. I did not find that it worked. Maybe I'm just inept, but when I tried to do it, it didn't work. So if you change this to like 3, it says make sure that the F skill cap multiplier in experience.ini or skill cap multiplier in the experience MCM matches this value. I went into that experience.ini and updated it to match. Did not change what happened. Okay, now you can do it on yourself. If you figure it out, please let me know in the comments. I would love to know. This is probably the only other thing in the game that I have a hard time with trying to get this to work and be for when I want to have my all-inclusive character. Fixed skill points per level, you're going to get that, and these are not going to change. I've tried it. Storm lightning, that just changed the lightning effects in the game. I don't really mess with that. Summer mist enchantments, you can change the fortification caps to where it's 75, or you can do them all. Summer mist, everybody I'm sure mostly knows about that. If not, you can watch a YouTube video on that one. There's a lot out there for summer mist, and it's awesome to have. Ultimate dodge mod, again, same kind of thing. You can change a few of the things, like how much stamina it uses or whatever. For the most part, I leave this alone. Let it do its thing. The Wheels of Lull is a new quest mod that's added in here as well. I haven't even gotten to it yet, so I have no idea on these. The only thing I want is, I'm gonna make these guys not invincible, because for some reason I don't know why they would be, and I don't like just running away from everything. Trade and barter is pretty doggone nice if you want to change how you buy and sell things from people. You can change your buying and selling prices, different player variables on, if you're a Thane and your faction members and how much better you get with them. You can also change merchant prices with certain things, fences so they don't rip you off as much. Merchant inventory, you can change how much each type of character and merchants has for gold availability. This is great if you're a pickpocket or a thief or something like that, and you're going to steal from an innkeeper. It would make sense that they'd have more than just 100 gold, since they're renting rooms and selling all this stuff. And blacksmiths, you can change how much they have if they're really good, yada yada yada. True directional movement and true HUD and ultimate immersion toggle, I leave those 3 alone. They have the settings in there rocking just the way that they need to be. I don't need to change any of that. You can go in there and play with it or look at their actual YouTube videos that show how to change those. I don't. It's good the way it is. Vigilant is an awesome, really cool quest mod that's added in. That's part of the Vigilance Estendar, and if you fall into it and get into it, when you find it, you'll be surprised at how fun it is. I will say that Dawnstar has a way that you can enter this quite easily, or if you just go straight up to the Vigilance. Do note that you do need to be a decent level to go into there. Violence. This is one of the awesome things that I have always had on every single mod build anytime since I found it. Violence is awesome. Keep it on, always. Advancing kill moves, I usually switch to last enemy. Camera view. If I am playing first person, I want it to be first person. If I'm playing in third person, I want it to do third person. I don't want to be playing third person, and next thing you know, I zoom in and I'm chopping a guy's head off at close distance. That seems weird to me, so I always change this to smart for camera view. That way, if I'm playing in third person, it keeps it there. Last enemy restriction. You can take this off if you're fighting local, and it usually helps you more often than not get those kill moves. But do note that there is probably a half a second to 1 second delay after the kill scene has ended, where you are frozen and locked in place, and they are still attacking you and will do damage during that slight moment of opportunity. So it can be detrimental at times. Player kill move immunity. This makes it where if you are playing a mage with robes and that two-hander walks up to you, instead of almost killing you with one hit, he will automatically get the kill move. Sometimes you may want to have this on. Most of the time I leave it off, because in case, I don't just want to be that mage that runs around and gets one shot killed by everything with a kill move. It just makes me, be like, okay, I don't want to play this character anymore. You can turn on the decapitation chance. You can change it from perks to on, so it does it all the time regardless. You can turn it off where you don't do any decapitations. One thing to note over here with these for magic, I usually leave the magic on. I do not do it for archery. Archery has a weird glitch I've noticed, where every once in a while you could play through a whole game and not have an issue, or you could play through a game where, like, every single fight you get into, the last one you shoot an arrow at, it has some sort of weird glitch where you will just sit there with the bow drawn and nothing happened. You don't shoot an arrow, you don't do any damage, you just sit there. So if you're in a fight, they're just going to keep coming at you and attacking you while this thing is just locked up. And then when you come back to action, you're still going to just be sit there with a bow drawn and you can't do anything. You're going to have to switch weapons or reload it or something, take it off and put it back on to where it'll start acting normally again. That's a small glitch, and I don't have it very often, but I did want to make note of that with Licentia. Wildcat combat. You either disable everything or you use this. Injuries you can disable and enable. If you want to learn how Wildcat works, go watch a short YouTube video. There's a lot of good people out there that do it and explain it. This can make the game easy or 20 times difficult. You can have it on legendary and get absolutely run if you have this set up a certain way, or you can still be quite powerful on legendary. You can also be on novice and still have this on, and then you can still be taken out pretty easily with stagger lock. So, that being said, there's a lot of things in here. One thing I do love about this is the disabled pulled hell bow stamina cost. If you have this checked, you can have your bow drawn as long as you want and it will not drain your stamina. If you have this unchecked, it will take 5 points of stamina per second while you have a bow drawn. So if you don't have a lot of stamina, you will not be able to use your bow for diddly. So keep that in mind. That one will also come back when I go back to that MCM menu thing. Winter Sun Faiths is part of the whole thing in the system. One thing I do like is enabling these to disable them. Allows you to have, say you are not a Bosmer, but you want to do the Hersing quest. You don't have to be a specific race to follow that Daedric Prince or correct thing. You can keep that going. Now, favor from praying, I usually turn that up to 2 because it takes a long time to gain favor with these guys. You don't have to do that. You can keep it there. And favor loss over time, I usually take that down to 0 because I don't pray enough and keep up with it enough to not lose favor over time. So I generally stay pretty close to where I'm at. This disable apostasy, basically if you are a follower of RK, and one of the things is do not steal or break any laws in Skyrim. If you have this clicked and you accidentally steal something, normally you would be you are no longer following him and he has disowned you basically, and you are not following him anymore. So whatever, all that stuff you did by accidentally stealing something and getting caught right in front of somebody, it will take you off. When you have this clicked, it allows that not to change, and they will not abandon you as a follower if you have that clicked. So especially with Licentia, where you have to manually save yourself and it doesn't automatically save for you. If you forget and you go through a half an hour of playing the game through the city and selling stuff and you accidentally click steal, and then you're going to have to go through that entire half hour again, that might save you from that. Just a heads up. Wonders of Weather I don't really touch. Worm's Tooth is a big, awesome thing that you can play on. Minimum player level is 10. You know, this is a new quest mod that you can play. You have to do it after the Way of the Voice. So you can change the starting requirements, you know, all sorts of things on that one. It's a whole new area to go to. And XP MSE is just the skeleton that you use in the styles. You don't really want to change much of anything in here. There's no reason to. Now, that's all of those, and I'm going to come back up here to this MCM recorder. This is the last one I want to talk about because this one can change the game dramatically, easily. If you don't want to go through all those quick and easy, you can come right here to where it says MCM recordings. You can begin recording, which I've never played with or done. I believe you can save it and change all the stuff in there and then have it where anytime you create a new game, you can create your own here. Now these are pretty simple and straightforward. Easy as pie, hard as MCM recorder, and run me. Each one of these does their own thing. So if I click on hard, it says yes. Do you want to do it? Yes. Then it says close. You close completely out. Then it's going to have this big thing here. Now what it's going to do is in each one of those MCM menus, it's going to go in and change each one of these automatically for you. Now since it's going to be hard and we run the recording, give it a minute, and up in the top left you're going to see each thing as it's done. You don't want to do anything, you just kind of want to let it run its course until it is done and completed. Anything you change before you do this will be changed after this. Meaning if you change Genesis like we did, it's going to change it back. And it will tell you it is finished playing. Now, if we go back into the mod configuration and we go to any of those that it changed, say Obis, we set this to 5 and 10. It says the number of extra bandits is now going to be 30. I have played with this on. It is hard. I've had it where I start the game and then you go right down to the little mine right there at the beginning, and instead of 1 or 2 bandits sitting outside of there, you now have 32 bandits chasing you down, and they can be up to level 50. So they could one-shot you depending on the difficulty. It'll automatically change all this stuff for you and make it tougher. As far as Genesis goes, it went back in there and updated that just to show you. It changed it back to 40 and 40, and they'll spawn at hostels if near it. Doesn't leave this one on. So you can get into a big, massive fight with this. So there's also the MCM recorder that you can run. You can play as that. Now do note that when I did that, I usually come down here to Wildcat and I take off the stagger and all that stuff, because you go into a fight with 30 guys, besides just being overtaken, they will burst damage you, they will stagger lock you, and you are, because it has activate full body stagger, you will pretty much die. There's nothing you can do about it. The only way I've ever been able to fight it is if I have a big fire spell or flames and I'm running around insane casting fire at them and burning everybody. Other than that, I'm pretty well screwed. So, MCM, you can also do... Look in the oven for... Look in the oven. If you run easy as pie, it's going to change a lot of the same things as well. Now we're going to say run recording. And as far as I can tell, you can do this mostly anytime during the game. I wouldn't change it too much since it affects clockwork. And so that is now finished running. So now we're going to come in here to OBIS and go to the settings. It's disabled completely, so there's not going to be any extra bandits. If we go to Genesis, I'm pretty sure it's going to be the same thing. It's not active, and it's not going to be active. As far as Wildcat is concerned, it's disabled completely. So the only things that are going to be here are these few boosts that you get here. But all this extra stuff that Wildcat has is completely disabled to make the game as easy as possible. So that is that pretty well set up easy for... And should explain the MCM recorder. Run Me, this one's kind of interesting. I am assuming it's one that they wanted run right at the beginning. It doesn't change a whole lot. It changes things to run pretty smooth, but do note that it does change key bindings. So the quick light that I explained was like number pad 1 to turn on and off. This changes it to like the semicolon button. So this one I don't generally activate whenever I play a game. So once that gets done running, so now the quick light button is this one instead, and NP1 does nothing. I'm not fully sure everything that it does, but I tend to do my own settings as I went through and showed with you. I've done it so many times that it's ridiculous, so it's secondhand nature to me. Like this one has advancing kill moves off, vanilla camera, it'll change all this stuff for you and put it back to basics, what you had, and then we go to quick light here like I was saying. It changes the set light key. Why? I have no idea. That's the way that they set it up. I would assume that they want that run each time to help you out, but that's totally up to you. So, now that we have gone over all of that, that's pretty much all that there is. So, this is the walkthrough of Licentia, and I will do some different play mod videos to let you see how all the different things run. But if you want to get it set up, running the same way and be able to use it, this is pretty much a complete walkthrough that I can't find anywhere on YouTube for. So if you like this, please like the video and subscribe. It really helps. If you have any comments on things that I missed or can make better or change, let me know. Or help anybody else out in the video. Let me know, and we'll talk to you later, guys. Thanks so much, and have a good time. Anyways, thanks so much for watching the video. Please like, subscribe, and follow for more Skyrim, Pokemon, and Call of Duty content, as well as some other odd, random, offshoot stuff. Thanks so much, and we look forward to seeing you here again.